Alright guys, today I want to take a look at how to add and subtract decimals. So we'll start with the adding part first. And before we really get into it, I want to just kind of do a little bit of background to make you uh, kind of look and think about what you do when you add decimals and why it works this way. So let's just start very easily with a simple math problem here. I'm not going to use any decimals to start with because I want you guys to see where we're going to go with this. So if I take a number such as 4,318 and I add, let's say, 36 to it. Okay. Uh, when it comes to writing this, we could do this math writing it horizontally or across like this, but more often than not, when we have larger numbers like this, we like to write them vertically, and that's the easiest way to do it. So whenever we do this, we're doing something without really even thinking about it. If I was going to write this down, generally when I'm adding, I usually put the number that has the most digits on top. So that'd be that one. And when I write the addition problem, I always would put the 36 right here. Now, you probably aren't really thinking why, you just are used to putting them over there on the far right. But let's think about for a second if we didn't do that. What if the 36 went right here? Well, that would look a little bit silly because there's the space both to the right and to the left of it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. What if we took and actually had the 36 all the way to the left? Again, that looks kind of silly. Um, we have to make sure we put these in a specific spot. So what I want you guys to think about is you have to add the appropriate place values together. Think back to the base 10 blocks. I couldn't just pick up a handful of the blocks and say that I had 7 blocks. I had to actually decide which ones had which value and then go from there. I couldn't take 3 ones pieces and 4 longs and say that I had 7 pieces because they're worth different amounts. So we have to be adding those same place values to each other, which is why the 36 goes here, because 6 is in the ones place, 8 is in ones place, 1 is in the tens place, 3 is in the tens place. So you have to add the same place values together. That's how addition works. And then we can still do our same normal addition as is. So I just wanted you to think about that and be thinking of that as we move forward, because that's what helps us when we do our decimals. It's really the most important thing. When it comes to adding decimals, everything is the exact same as like what you do here. We just throw some decimals in. So let's take a look at what it would look like. Let's use some numbers that are pretty similar to that. But let's use, let's say the 25 and 8 tenths plus 9 and 4 tenths. Okay, so if we're going to do this problem here, we often always say we put the big number on top always. Well, not necessarily the big number. We're going to put the number that has the most digits, and I'll show you what I mean by that later on. But we're going to take the number that has the most digits. 25 and 8 tenths has 3 digits, so we're going to put that on top. 25 and 8 tenths. Now, to determine where my next number needs to go, I have to think about place values. So I've got 2 different places up here in this decimal. I've got 9 is in the ones place and 4 is in the tens place. So I need to make sure that that happens. I need to make sure that 9 is in the ones place below the ones place. I need to make sure that 4 is in the ones place below the ones place, or I'm sorry, 4 is in the tens place below the tens place in the problem. So down here, 5 is in the ones place, so I'm going to put my 9 below it. 8 is in the tens place, so I'm going to put my 4 below it. And then I need to put my decimal in. Now, if you notice, my decimals line up perfectly. And that's exactly what you're looking for when you add or subtract decimals, is having those decimals lined up. Now I can do the addition as if I normally would. 8 plus 4 is 12. 9 plus 5 is 14 plus 1 is 15. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. Last step I have to do is I have to bring down my decimal straight down, put it in the answer. Now, one thing I'm going to recommend that you do for this is I want you to kind of round and estimate your answer to start with, because one thing that always happens is we put our decimals in the wrong spot and then we just leave that as our answer. So check this out. If I was going to round 25 and 8 tenths to the nearest whole number, I'd be rounding that. I look back at the 8 and, okay, well, the 8 tells me that 5 should round to 6. So it becomes 26. I do the same thing for 9 and 4 tenths. The 4 tells me that 9 should stay at 9. So now I'm going to do 26 plus 9. If I do 26 plus 9, I know that that's 35. Now notice, my answer is 35 and 2 tenths. My estimated answer is 35. Very, very, very close. That tells me that my decimal is most likely in the correct position. If my decimal would have come in like between the 3 and the 5 and I'd had 3 and 52 hundredths, that would definitely tell me I had the wrong decimal location. estimating like this won't give you the guaranteed answer right off the bat. But what it will do is it will help you to at least know that you have the decimal in the right spot. So I want you guys to kind of follow along with me here on this one. We're going to do this next one together, and I want you to sort of follow along. Okay? Let's do 9 and 46 thousandths, and we're going to add 3 and 3/10. Okay? So over in the blank off to the side, you'll see a spot for you to write this down, not horizontally, but in fact vertically. So what I want you to do is I want you to kind of follow along with me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write down my number that has the most digits, 9 and 46 thousandths, because there's 4 digits up there. 9. And I'm going to write my 3 and 3/10. So let's go ahead and try this. We want the 3 to be in the ones place and the other 3 to be below the tenths place. So to do that, I'd put my 3 there, my decimal, and my 3. Now check out this problem. That kind of looks silly. It looks kind of weird because we've got that gap at the back. Now, one of the things we were doing the area model of division and addition, if we had to put zeros in there, it didn't affect the number. And just like that, we can fill those in as well. If I put zeros in, it doesn't change the number. As long as the zeros come after the last decimal place or in front of the first number, it will not change the value of the number. It will change the value of the number if you put it between, like let's say between the 3 and the decimal place. Then it does change the value. So we fill in some zeros, and now I can add. But before we add, you'll see there's another box off to the right. I want you to estimate. Let's round. Okay? So let's round our numbers here. So I want you to round 9 and 46 thousandths to the nearest whole number. Well, if we look at the 0 that's in the tens place, we know that this should stay at 9. And if we look at the tens place, it's a 3, so the other one should stay at 3. So if we do 9 plus 3, we get 12. Okay? So we know our answer should be somewhere close to 12. It won't be exact, but it'll be close. Let's give it a shot. Well, 6 plus 0 is easy. That's 6. 4 plus 0 is easy. That's 4. 0 plus 3. This is really easy so far. Now the last part here is 9 plus 3 is 12. And notice the decimal comes straight down. All you have to do is line up the decimals. That's all you have to do. Line up your decimals, fill in any zeros if you need to hold place value, and then do the addition. So I want you guys to kind of try this one with me here. Okay. This next problem, I'm going to sort of have you pause the video as you're working through it, and then you can play the video to check it. So let's try 10 and 244 thousandths, and we're going to add 6 and 9 tenths. Okay. So in the box to the side, I want you to write what you think this problem should look like when it's set up. So go ahead and hit pause, write it, and hit play when you're ready to see it. All right, let's see how you did. Again, the number that has the most digits is going to go on the top. 10 and 244 thousandths. Now here's where we got to decide where the 6 and 9 tenths goes. See if you did it the way I do. 6 is in the ones place, so it has to go under the ones place in the problem. 0 is in the ones place, so the 6 goes there. 9 is in the tenths place, so it's got to go under the tenths place in the problem. If 2 is in the tenths place, then the 9 goes there, and we put our decimal in. Notice we've got some blanks just like the last one. We can fill in zeros and do our addition. So go ahead and hit pause, do the addition, put your decimal in, and see if you get the right answer. All right, let's see how you did here. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 9 is 11. Let's carry the 1. 6 plus 0 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. And 1 plus nothing is 1. Bring down our decimal, and our answer is 17 and 144 thousandths. So if we take a second here to look at what our estimated answer should be, we can round 10 and 244 thousandths and 6 and 9 tenths and round those and see what that'd be. So go ahead and hit pause, see what the rounding would be. Okay, so let's see what you did. 10 and 244 thousandths would round to 10. And 6 and 9 tenths would round to 7. So when I do my addition, I get 17. So you'll notice that we have our decimal in the right spot. It's going to help you put your decimal in the right spot. Okay. The other thing that I would highly recommend that you do is make sure that you write this stuff neatly. Because what I find students doing often is I see that they make the mistake of writing very sloppily, and then they don't drop that decimal down straight where it needs to be, or they don't line up all the place values. And if you don't have your place values lined up, then your addition is going to get off, and your decimal is going to go in the wrong spot, and it's going to be a bad thing. So make sure that you're writing it neatly, and make sure you're dropping your decimal down straight through the problem, just like you would be just bringing it straight down. Okay, so let's try another one together before I turn you loose on some practice problems. Let's try this one. Let's try 0 and 35 hundredths plus 0 and 7,451 ten thousandths. Okay. Now this is kind of a tricky one. I want you to go ahead and try to see if you can figure out how you need to write this number. Remember my hint. It's not the biggest number that goes on top, but it's the number that has the most digits. That's what it's going to make it look easy. So go ahead and hit pause and give it a shot. Okay, let's see what we got here. If you did this correctly, you should have taken the number that has the most digits, which is this one over here. It does happen to be the biggest number, but it has the most digits. That's the most important part of this. Okay? And I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it should look like. Okay? That's how you should have started off this problem. And then you can fill in your zeros. Now, here's how it would have looked. It would have looked really silly if you'd have written the problem like this. Does that mean you can't do it? No, it doesn't, but it just looks different considering what we're used to seeing. So stick with putting the number that has the most digits on the top. That just makes it so it's a lot easier for you to get going. All right, go ahead, and this time before you actually do the addition, I want you to do the estimation. So go ahead and hit pause, round to the nearest whole number, and see what you come up with. All right, if we rounded, this one's kind of tricky because they both have zeros. But we know that if we look back in the tens place, 7 would make it round up to 1. 3 would make the 0 stay at 0. So we know that our answer is going to be very close to exactly 1. It won't be perfectly 1, but it's going to be really close to 1. So if I take 1 plus 0, it's 1. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. 7 plus 3 is 10. 0 plus 0, and then 1. Now, if I do this correctly, where should the decimal go? Go ahead and put your decimal in. Hit pause. See if you got it right. All right, let's see what you got. Should have dropped your decimal straight down. 1 and 951 ten thousandths for your answer. One thing that I want to take a look at real quick before you get going on your own is what happens if, what if our problems look a little bit different than this? So what if we have something that looks like, let's say this. Let's go with 19 and 5/10, and we're going to add, let's say we do 0 and 436 thousandths. Well, if we're going to do this, go ahead, hit pause, and see if you can figure out how you would set this up. All right, let's see what you did here. You should have taken the number with the most digits. Well, hey, they both have 3, so we can start with whichever one we want to. 19 and 5/10 there. Now I'm going to have to go 0 and 436 thousandths there. If this happens, there's nothing's wrong. We just have to fill in zeros on the top part as well. And now that makes this easy. 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 3 is 3. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 0 is 9. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So bring down my decimal, and I have an answer of 19 and 936 thousandths. All right, here's what I want you to do. There's a few more practice problems left on this sheet. Now I want you to go ahead and give these a shot. Work on them. When you're finished, raise your hand and have the substitute check them for you. If you get them all correct, then it's time to move on to subtraction.